Okay, both auto-secure and one-step lockdown can be rolled back. I think I referred to this earlier as a hard rollback by reverting to the startup configuration. Please, please, please keep that in mind. That's, like I said, Router 101. Don't write anything you're not sure about. That's the beauty of having two different configurations, the running configuration versus the startup configuration. As long as you know that that startup configuration is stable, always reload that router. Now, depending on what that does to your business, but if you're in a situation where you have done a big boo-boo, it's probably better to just go ahead and knock down the business for a second to, well, you didn't hear this here, to get this fixed. But basically, it's a safety net. So don't be quick to write the running configuration, the startup configuration. Finally, rollback. In both these features, it's a little kludgy. It's not a true rollback, and if you do write the running configuration to startup configuration, you're going to have some ugliness trying to get this all reverted. You're going to want to have an external copy of a stable configuration that you can revert back to if necessary. That would be the best way to go. AutoSecure does have a feature for platforms that have an ATA disk, which it basically just writes the running configuration before you make the change. That's helpful somewhat. With one-step lockdown, it's theoretically very easy to roll this back, and you just go in and do a security audit and then undo what you've done. You will show that on the SDM that is not a good solution. The best way is the step before this. Have a stable pre-hardening configuration available to replace this. Okay, so this bit is directly from the Cisco documentation. It's AutoSecure features not implemented in SDM. So just the way that even reads, you can see the AutoSecure seems to be the more complete feature in that it does lock down more than Cisco SDM. And if you're studying for the CCNA security exam, I would definitely try to memorize these. There's not that many. There's 5 and then a couple different ones at the bottom. So there's like 7 bullet points. This is prime fodder for a question. Okay, so the first thing is disabling NTP, which is Network Time Protocol. AutoSecure will disable that. SDM won't do a damn thing with it. Configuring AAA. If it's not configured, AutoSecure configures local AAA and prompts configuration of a local username. Yeah, SDM does not support this. That's not true. When we take a look at this on the SDM, we will see that it doesn't support the same AAA configuration that AutoSecure does, but it does turn on AAA. I mean, AAA new model, that's the switch that turns on AAA, and it does deliver that command. And it's good to know that it's doing that, because if you don't know how AAA works, trying to untangle some of the stuff that AAA does is tricky. Plus, there's always the chance that you're going to lock yourself out of the router when you're playing with AAA, so keep that in mind. Again, as I'll say ad nauseum in these videos, if it says it in the documentation, it's true. Doesn't matter that I put not true in there. I can show you that it's not true. If you get an exam question referring to this, go with what Cisco says. So setting SPD values, SDM does not set selective packet discard. Selective packet discard, believe it's running by default on the router we'll be using today, but that's for generally higher end routers, and I think that's specific to packet over SONET. If you're in a network where you're using one-step lockdown to secure your devices, you're probably not worried about a feature like this. Enabling TCP intercepts, that's surprising to me that SDM does not enable that. Keep that one in mind. I would say that that's probably a good bullet to remember for the exam, that SDM does not enable that. And then configure the anti-spoofing ACLs on the outside interfaces. AutoSecure does that, I believe, and I'm just doing this from memory. I think that's to prevent bogons. Bogons are basically IP addresses that should never be present on the internet, like the private addresses, your 10 range, and there's also, your loopback, your 127.0.0.1. Google Bogon is kind of interesting, and I don't remember if this ACL does all the bogons. There's also an RFC, and I'm getting off on a rat hole, aren't I? Sorry. Basically, for our purposes, Cisco SDM does not do this. So you can see there's some features here that AutoSecure implements that SDM does not via the one-step lockdown. Okay, and there's 2 points here for stuff that AutoSecure implements differently. So it's both features implemented, but AutoSecure does it differently. Disabling SNMP, the SDM, one-step lockdown will disable SDM. One-step lockdown will disable SNMP. I have so much trouble with that stupid abbreviation because it's so close to SNTP, and saying N and M for some reason just ties my tongue. So it just straight up disables it, whereas auto-secure will disable it but also give you the option of running the secure version 3. SSH for access to the router, kind of the same thing. They both work pretty much the same, but SDM will not enable service control point. Not even sure how that whole bit works in there. Service control point is it's like a voice deal. You know, I'd have to look it up. I wouldn't worry too much about that. Or disable other access and file transfer services such as FTP, and that's kind of big. It's not turning off FTP or TFTP, and those are definitely things that you want to either lock down or control with an access list or some other method. So Cisco Security Device Manager comes with a pretty cool function, which is security audit. So in the same part of the SDM that the one-step lockdown is located, right above that is something called security audit. You click on it, give it a couple pieces of information, I think inside outside interfaces, and what it will do is it will go out and check your running configuration and compare it against the Cisco best practices and come back with basically a security audit like it says, and it will come back and tell you what you need to fix to get your device in line with the Cisco security best practices. So this next set of slides is going to show you what the security audit comes up with after one-step lockdown versus auto-secure, and I think I did 2 flavors of auto-secure. So here, if you implement one-step lockdown, you're going to have damn near all of this stuff that is part of the Cisco best practices configured for you. So you can see here, it doesn't prompt you, and we talked about that earlier. It doesn't prompt you for an enable password. Telnet settings are not enabled. I'm not quite sure what that means. And it doesn't have ACLs on the HTTP or VTY lines. So this is pretty cool because if you want to completely have your router following all the Cisco best practices, you just go ahead, one-step lockdown, run your security audit, and then you can click here and fix it, and you can just click fix all and then go through next. We'll see this on the SDM. It's actually pretty cool because if you're not sure, like you're like, well, what are these telnet settings? And you have that setting that I told you before to preview the commands that go to the router, you can click fix it, next, see what it's going to send to the router and be like, oh, that's what they're talking about, and then cancel out of it if you want to. So this is the output from the security audit after I've used auto-secure with the no interact keyword on the router, and you do that from the CLI like I said. And no interact is probably as close to one-step lockdown as you can get with auto-secure. You're just going to type this one command, and then it's going to go ahead and it won't prompt you for anything. It will just go ahead and configure what it deems the best practices. And you can see there are about 11 quote-unquote problems that the security audit found with auto-secure no interact. Compare that with the 4 that it found with the one-step lockdown. Even though auto-secure does more configuration and disables, enables more features, according to the security audit, it misses more stuff. And we'll see like in the next slide that some of this stuff is not quite accurate. Like here, banner is set. We'll talk about that. AAA is not enabled. I don't think that's true either. Auto-secure generally does AAA, though I did do the no interact. So anywho, stop me from going off down another rat hole.